A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride, and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's begin our story. It was an unusually cold morning in the city, the type of chill that creeps into your bones, even with a jacket on. Alice had just finished her shift at the diner, her last dollar spent on a quick cup of coffee to warm her up. She had a job interview scheduled for later that morning, but with a broken-down car and the bus running late, it seemed like she was running out of options. Struggling to make ends meet as a single mom, she couldn't afford the repair bills for her old car, and now she was running the risk of missing the only opportunity that might help change her life. With a sigh, she stood at the curb of a busy street, looking around for a way to get to the interview. She felt embarrassed, clutching her resume in her hand. Her shoes were worn, the heels chipped from too many miles of walking and too many hours spent on her feet. Just as she was about to give up and accept that she would miss her chance, a black luxury sedan pulled up beside her. The window rolled down, and a voice from inside asked, "Need a ride?" Alice looked up, startled. The man behind the wheel was well-dressed, his dark hair neatly styled, and he had an air of confidence about him that she recognized only in the wealthy or powerful. She hesitated for a moment. Was this a trap? She had heard the stories, strangers offering rides could often mean trouble, but the truth was, she had no other option. She didn't want to lose this interview. She had already missed too many opportunities, and the thought of being late again made her stomach twist. I have an interview," Alice said, her voice unsure. "I can't really afford to miss it." The man smiled and nodded. "I'm heading in that direction. I don't mind giving you a lift. It's no trouble." Reluctantly, Alice opened the door and got in. As they drove through the city streets, Alice tried to focus on her interview, but her nerves were getting the best of her. She glanced at the man. "Thank you for this," she said. "I'm Alice, by the way, Alice Roberts." The man smiled again, his gaze briefly flickering toward her. "Nice to meet you, Alice. I'm David Carter." Alice raised an eyebrow. The name sounded familiar, but she couldn't place it. "David Carter? Are you in tech?" she asked, trying to make conversation. "Something like that," he replied with a shrug. But he didn't elaborate. Alice, preoccupied with her own thoughts, didn't press further. She just needed to get to the interview. As the car made its way through the bustling city, Alice couldn't help but wonder if she was making a mistake. But with the clock ticking, she let the doubt fade and focused on what lay ahead. Little did she know, the man offering her this ride was about to change her life in ways she never could have imagined. Asterisk. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride, and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Asterisk. Hello everyone, before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's begin our story. Asterisk. After Alice got into the car, she tried to relax, though her nerves were still running high. The car's leather seats felt too luxurious, too comfortable compared to her worn-out shoes and second-hand clothes. She could feel the awkwardness of the moment. But she was grateful. Her mind kept drifting to her job interview, hoping she wouldn't miss it. "You seem nervous," David said, glancing at her with a hint of concern. "It's just, I really need this job," Alice replied, her voice quiet. "I'm a single mom, and work has been tough. I can't afford to miss any opportunity that might change things for my son and me." David nodded, his expression softening. "I understand. A fresh start is important. Do you mind me asking what you do?" Alice hesitated, her gaze drifting to the window. "I work at a diner," she said, a slight flush creeping up her neck. "It's not glamorous, but it pays the bills. Most of them, anyway." She looked at him then, curious. "What about you? You said your name was David. What do you do?" David smiled, but his eyes remained focused on the road. "I'm in business," he said simply. "I run a company. I'm just trying to get to a meeting right now." His tone was calm, but Alice could sense that there was something more behind his words. His relaxed demeanor didn't match the sleek, high-end car he was driving. They continued talking, with Alice sharing more about her struggles and dreams. She mentioned how she'd been trying to start her own business, a small online store to sell handmade goods. But the bills kept piling up, and every month felt like a fight. David listened intently, offering encouraging words, though he didn't give much away about himself. The city passed by them, tall buildings and busy streets. But Alice's thoughts remained on her son, Jason. She thought about the nights they spent in their tiny apartment, how she would read him bedtime stories even when she was exhausted from working 2 jobs. "I'm sure things will get better," David said after a long silence. "You just need the right opportunity to come your way." Alice smiled weakly. "I hope so." As they approached the area where her interview was being held, the anxiety started to build again. She didn't know if she was ready. The place was upscale. Something she never would have thought she'd be able to enter, let alone work at. "Thank you so much for the ride," she said, her voice tight with nerves. "I really appreciate it." David slowed the car and looked at her, giving her a small smile. "Good luck with your interview, Alice. I have a feeling you'll do just fine." Alice opened the door and stepped out, still in disbelief that someone like him had been kind enough to help her. She walked to the entrance of the building, her heart racing, and then paused. Just before she walked in, she turned back to look at the car. It had already disappeared, vanishing into the busy street. As Alice walked into the building, she didn't know it yet, but her life was about to change in ways she couldn't even imagine. What she didn't know was that David was not just any businessman, he was a millionaire CEO, and he had seen something in her that would soon lead to a life-altering decision. Asterisk. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride, and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Asterisk. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. Asterisk. After Alice left the car, her thoughts were scattered. She couldn't believe she had just met such a kind stranger. She had expected nothing more than a simple ride, but he had actually taken the time to listen to her, offer her advice, and even express belief in her potential. She stood for a moment at the entrance to the building, still processing everything that had just happened. Her nerves were a mix of excitement and disbelief. She had never been in such a fancy place before. The polished glass doors, the marble floors, and the upscale atmosphere made her feel like an outsider. But she couldn't let that stop her. She needed this job. She was ready to fight for it, for her son, for their future. Inside, the receptionist greeted her with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "You must be Alice Roberts," she said, looking down at the clipboard. "You're here for the interview with Mr. Turner?" Alice nodded, trying to keep her confidence intact. "Yes, that's me." The receptionist directed her to a waiting area where a few other candidates were seated. They all looked polished, well-dressed, and confident, the complete opposite of Alice. She felt self-conscious in her second-hand clothes, but she tried to ignore the nagging feeling in her chest. This was her chance, and she wasn't going to let anything stand in her way. The minutes felt like hours. Alice kept replaying the conversation with David in her mind, wondering if it had been a fluke or if there was more to his offer of help than just a simple act of kindness. She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something important she had missed. Maybe it was just her overactive imagination, but something about him had made her feel seen. Just then, the receptionist called her name. "Miss Roberts, Mr. Turner will see you now." Alice stood up, her hands shaking slightly, and walked down the hallway to the office. She took a deep breath before entering, determined to make a good impression. Inside, the office was sleek, modern, and intimidating. The man behind the desk, Mr. Turner, was exactly what she had expected. A sharp, professional-looking man in a suit, with a demeanor that suggested he was used to being in control. "Miss Roberts," he said, standing to greet her. "Please, have a seat." Alice sat down, trying to keep her composure. The interview went smoothly at first. She talked about her experience, her determination to succeed, and her desire to make a better life for her son. Mr. Turner seemed interested, nodding occasionally, but he didn't give much away. As the interview went on, Alice couldn't help but feel the weight of her own self-doubt creeping in. She wasn't sure if she was enough for this job, if she could compete with the polished, well-connected candidates she had seen in the waiting room. She started second-guessing herself, wondering if she had done enough to prove her worth. Just when she thought she might lose her nerve, Mr. Turner spoke again. "You know, Miss Roberts, there's something about you. You've got a fire in you, something a lot of people don't have. I think you'd be a great fit here. We'll be in touch." Alice blinked, not sure if she had heard him right. Had he just offered her the job? Was she reading too much into his words? She stood up, trying to hide the shock on her face. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She shook his hand, still processing the weight of the moment. As she left the office, her heart was racing. She had no idea if she had actually gotten the job or if Mr. Turner was just being polite. But for the first time in a long time, she felt a glimmer of hope. She walked out of the building and onto the bustling city streets, her mind whirling with possibilities. Little did Alice know, this was just the beginning. The chance meeting with David and the interview with Mr. Turner were not mere coincidences. They were the first steps toward a future that would completely change her life. David's kindness was the first spark, but it was only the beginning of what would become an extraordinary journey. Asterisk. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride, and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Asterisk. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. Asterisk. The next few days felt like a blur for Alice. She couldn't shake the feeling that her encounter with David had been the start of something big, but she still wasn't sure what that something was. The interview with Mr. Turner went well, but the wait for an answer was excruciating. She kept herself busy with her part-time job at the diner, but her mind was constantly drifting back to the strange man who had offered her a ride that day. The days passed, and Alice began to doubt herself. What if she hadn't done enough in the interview? What if she had missed her chance? And what about David? She hadn't heard from him since that brief encounter, and though he had seemed genuine, she couldn't help but wonder if he had simply been trying to be nice. Then, one morning, Alice was working her usual shift at the diner when a familiar voice broke through her thoughts. "Alice?" She looked up, startled, to see David standing by the counter. He was dressed in a sharp suit, his hair perfectly styled. He didn't look like the man she had met just a few days ago. This time, he looked every bit the successful CEO. "David?" Alice asked, almost in disbelief. "What are you doing here?" He smiled, his expression warm, but with a hint of something deeper behind his eyes. "I wanted to check in on you," he said, his voice calm. "I was thinking about our conversation the other day. You really made an impression on me." Alice felt a lump form in her throat. "You did?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "I didn't expect to see you again." David nodded, taking a seat at the counter. "I've been thinking a lot about the kind of people I want to work with, and you're someone I'd like to help." Alice's heart skipped a beat. "Help?" she repeated, unsure of what he meant. "What do you mean?" David's eyes softened as he looked at her. "I want to offer you a job, Alice. Something more than just a diner job. I think you have a lot of potential, and I want to give you the opportunity to show that." Alice was stunned. She opened her mouth to speak but found herself at a loss for words. "I know it might seem like a big step," David continued, "but I've been impressed with your resilience, and I think you're capable of more than you realize." Alice sat frozen for a moment, trying to process what he was saying. A job. A real job. Something more than just making ends meet. This was the break she had been hoping for, but it felt too good to be true. "I don't know what to say," she finally managed. This is, this is a lot. David gave her a reassuring smile. I understand. But I'm serious, Alice. I believe in you. I've seen too many people like you get stuck in jobs they hate, just trying to survive. But you have something special. I want to give you a chance to grow. Alice's eyes started to well up. She hadn't realized how badly she needed someone to believe in her. She had been struggling for so long, just trying to make it through each day, that she had forgotten what it felt like to be seen. Thank you, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. You have no idea how much this means to me. David nodded, standing up to leave. I'll have my assistant reach out to you with the details. I'll be in touch soon. With that, he turned and left the diner, leaving Alice staring after him in shock. She couldn't believe it. This was the moment she had been waiting for, and it had arrived in the most unexpected way. Over the next few days, Alice's mind raced. She had been offered a job by a millionaire CEO, a man who had seen something in her that she hadn't even seen in herself. But the reality of it all was overwhelming. She had always lived in survival mode, never daring to dream too big. Now, she was being given an opportunity to completely change her life. What if she wasn't ready? What if she failed? As the days passed, Alice couldn't shake her doubts. But she knew one thing for sure: she had to take this chance. She had to at least try. This was her shot at a better life, and she wasn't going to let it slip away. The next week, Alice received the call from David's assistant, confirming the job offer and providing her with the details. She had a lot to prepare for, and she knew that things were about to change in ways she couldn't even imagine. As she hung up the phone, Alice couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. She was about to start a new chapter in her life, and for the first time in a long while, she felt like she was on the path to something more than just surviving. She was ready to live. Asterisk. Asterisk. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Asterisk. Asterisk. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. Asterisk, asterisk. Alice couldn't believe it. She had just been given an opportunity that many would only dream of. A real job, a future she could finally feel good about. As the days passed after David's visit, she found herself overwhelmed with emotions. The fear of failure loomed large in her mind. She had always worked hard, but never had a chance to do something truly meaningful. She knew she had to prove herself, but was she truly ready for this? Alice spent the next few days preparing for her new role. She was determined to do everything right, but there was a sense of unease that she couldn't shake. She wasn't used to this kind of attention or opportunity. The fear of not fitting in or not being enough kept gnawing at her. But when the day came for her first official meeting with David, her nerves got the best of her. She stood outside the office building, trying to take deep breaths to calm herself. The tall glass structure loomed before her like something out of a dream. She had never been inside a building like this. She had spent most of her life struggling to make ends meet, and now she was about to walk into the world of corporate success. Was she going to make a fool of herself? The receptionist greeted her as she walked in, offering a smile that was too perfect, too polished. Alice forced a smile back, trying to hide her nerves. "Miss Roberts, right this way," the receptionist said, directing her to the elevator. As the elevator doors closed, Alice felt a wave of anxiety wash over her. This was it. She was about to meet the people who could change her life forever. When the doors opened, she stepped into a sleek office space, filled with glass walls, expensive furniture, and the hum of productivity. David was waiting for her, standing by a large desk with a warm smile on his face. "Alice, welcome," he said, shaking her hand. "I'm glad you made it." He led her to a chair in front of his desk, offering her a coffee before they started. "How are you feeling?" he asked, genuinely concerned. "A little nervous," Alice admitted. "This is all so new to me." David nodded understandingly. "That's completely normal. Don't worry, you'll fit right in. Just be yourself. Alice appreciated his words, but the imposter syndrome still lingered. She had spent her whole life in survival mode, never imagining that someone like David, someone so successful, would ever want to help her. But here she was, sitting in his office, with a future that suddenly seemed full of possibilities. "I've been thinking about your role here," David continued. "We're going to start small. You'll be assisting with a few projects, but I see a lot of potential in you. You'll have the chance to grow and prove yourself. I'm not expecting perfection, just dedication." Alice nodded, feeling the weight of his words. It wasn't going to be easy, but she was determined to make the most of this opportunity. "I won't let you down," she promised. David smiled. "I know you won't." The meeting continued, with David explaining the details of the projects she would be working on. Alice took careful notes, absorbing everything. As she listened, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. She had come so far from the days of struggling to make ends meet. This was her chance to create something better, not just for herself, but for her son as well. After the meeting, Alice returned home, her mind racing. She couldn't wait to start this new chapter. She knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but she was ready. This job, this chance, was the turning point she had been waiting for her entire life. As she sat down on her couch that evening, her son curled up beside her, she realized that for the first time in a long while, she wasn't just surviving, she was living. The opportunity David had given her was more than just a job, it was the key to a new future. And Alice was determined to unlock it. Asterisk, asterisk. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride, and never imagined he was a millionaire, CEO. Asterisk, asterisk. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. Asterisk, asterisk. Alice's first few weeks at her new job felt like a whirlwind. She had never imagined that her life could change so quickly. And yet, here she was, sitting in a sleek, modern office building, surrounded by successful professionals. It was nothing like the cramped, worn-out diner she used to work in. Every day, she learned something new, whether it was how to navigate office meetings, use new software, or deal with the stress of working in such a fast-paced environment. But despite the challenges, Alice felt a sense of pride that she hadn't experienced before. She had a purpose now. She wasn't just struggling to get by. She was building something. David had been true to his word. He had given her a chance, and now it was up to her to prove that she deserved it. She threw herself into the work, staying late when needed, and taking on extra projects. The team started to take notice of her dedication. At first, she felt like an outsider, like she didn't belong in the world of corporate suits and fancy offices. But as the weeks went by, she found herself growing more confident. The initial fear and imposter syndrome started to fade, replaced with the quiet satisfaction of knowing that she was good at what she did. She was learning quickly, and she was beginning to feel like she was making a real contribution. One afternoon, after another long day at the office, Alice was reviewing a presentation when she heard a knock on her office door. "Come in," she called, her voice barely above a whisper. The door opened, and to her surprise, it was David. He stepped inside with a smile, looking as calm and collected as always. "How's everything going?" he asked, his tone warm but professional. Alice straightened up in her chair, her heart racing a little. "It's going well, a little overwhelming at times, but I'm managing," she replied, trying to keep the nerves out of her voice. David nodded thoughtfully. "I know it's a lot to take in, but you're doing a great job, Alice. The team is really starting to see your potential." Alice's heart swelled with pride. She had worked so hard to prove herself, and hearing him say those words made it all feel worth it. "Thank you," she said, her voice a little softer now. "I really appreciate the opportunity you've given me. I don't want to let you down." David smiled, walking over to her desk. "You won't let me down. I believe in you, Alice. You've got something special." There was a brief pause, and then David continued, "I wanted to talk to you about something." Alice looked up at him, wondering what he was about to say. "We have an important project coming up, and I think you're the right person for the job. It's a big responsibility, but I have no doubt you'll handle it well." Alice's eyes widened in surprise. She hadn't expected this. A new project? A big responsibility? "Are you sure?" she asked, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. "I'm still getting the hang of things around here," David nodded. "I wouldn't offer it to you if I didn't think you were ready. You've proven yourself, Alice, and now it's time to take the next step." Alice felt a wave of gratitude wash over her. She had worked so hard to get to this point, and now David was giving her an even bigger opportunity. She couldn't afford to mess this up. "I'll do my best," she said, determined. "You can count on me," David smiled, his expression proud. "I know I can." As he left the office, Alice sat back in her chair, trying to process everything that had just happened. A new project, a big responsibility. This was her chance to truly make her mark, to prove that she was more than just the single mom who had once struggled to make ends meet. This was her time to shine. The next few days were filled with meetings, planning sessions, and late nights at the office. Alice threw herself into the project, pouring her heart and soul into every detail. She knew that this was the opportunity she had been waiting for. It wasn't just about proving herself to David or her coworkers. It was about proving to herself that she could do it. She was capable of more than she had ever imagined. As the project began to take shape, Alice started to feel a growing sense of pride. This wasn't just a job anymore. This was her future. And she wasn't going to let anything or anyone stand in her way. Asterisk. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Asterisk. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. Asterisk. Alice felt the pressure mounting as the days went by. The project David had entrusted to her was demanding, but Alice was determined to prove that she belonged here, in this world of corporate high stakes. She spent long hours at the office, staying late into the night, working through the complexities of the project with a focus she hadn't known she was capable of. The sense of purpose she felt now was like nothing she had experienced before. She was no longer just getting by, she was thriving. Still, the weight of her new responsibilities weighed heavily on her. The expectations were high, and the fear of failure always loomed in the back of her mind. But the more she worked, the more confident she became. Her team members started to take notice of her contributions, and that small spark of recognition kept her going. One afternoon, as Alice was finalizing the project details, she received an unexpected call. It was from David. "Alice." His voice was warm but serious. "I need you to come to my office. We need to talk about something important." Her heart skipped a beat. Had she made a mistake? Was the project not going well? She quickly gathered her things and headed to his office, her mind racing with possibilities. When she arrived, David was standing by his desk, looking at some papers. He looked up as she entered, offering her a reassuring smile. "Come in, Alice. Take a seat." Alice sat down, still unsure of what was going on. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice a little nervous. David nodded. "Everything's going great with the project. You've done a fantastic job. I'm impressed with your work." Alice exhaled in relief. "Thank you," she said, her shoulders relaxing a little. "That means a lot to me." "But I wanted to talk to you about something else," David continued, his tone changing slightly. "I know how much this project means to you, and I can see the potential you have, but I also know that you're still adjusting to this world. I want to make sure you have the support you need moving forward." Alice was taken aback. "I'm doing my best," she said. "I know it's been a lot, but I can handle it." David smiled again, his expression kind. "I know you can, but I think it's important that you don't feel like you're doing this alone. We have resources here, and I want to make sure you have everything you need to succeed." Alice nodded, still processing what he was saying. She had always prided herself on her independence, on being able to handle things on her own. But David's offer of support was a reminder that she didn't have to carry the weight of everything by herself. "I appreciate that, David," she said, her voice quieter now. "I guess I've been so focused on proving myself that I forgot to ask for help when I need it." David leaned forward slightly. "That's part of growing, Alice. Understanding that you don't have to do everything on your own. You're a valuable part of this team, and I want to make sure you have what you need to keep excelling." Alice smiled, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. "Thank you. I won't let you down." David stood up, extending his hand. "I know you won't. Keep up the great work, Alice." As she left his office, Alice felt a sense of gratitude she hadn't expected. She had come to this company with nothing but hope and determination, and now she was starting to see the fruits of her labor. It wasn't just about the job anymore. It was about her growth, about learning how to ask for help when she needed it, and trusting that she had the ability to succeed. The next few weeks flew by in a blur of meetings, brainstorming sessions, and hard work. The project was moving forward smoothly, and Alice felt more confident in her abilities with each passing day. She was starting to build relationships with her colleagues, and they were starting to see her as an integral part of the team. But one evening, as Alice was wrapping up some last-minute work, she received a call from her son's school. Her stomach dropped as she picked up the phone. "Hello?" she asked, her voice tight. "This is the principal's office. We're calling because there's been an issue with your son. He's been in a fight at school, and we need you to come in as soon as possible." Alice's heart raced. Jason had always been a good kid, but things had been tough for him too. She knew that school had been a struggle lately, and now it seemed like the pressure was getting to him. Without thinking, she gathered her things and rushed out of the office, her mind racing with worry. As she drove to the school, she realized that no matter how successful she became in her career, her first priority would always be her son. She had to be there for him, no matter what. When she arrived at the school, Jason was sitting in the principal's office, his eyes downcast. He looked up when she walked in, and she could see the guilt in his eyes. "Mom, I'm sorry," he muttered. Alice knelt down beside him, putting a hand on his shoulder. "It's okay, baby," she said softly. "We'll figure this out together." As she comforted her son, Alice realized that the challenges she faced at work were nothing compared to the responsibility of being a mother. She had come so far, but her journey was far from over. And as she looked at Jason, she knew that she would face whatever came next, with the same determination and strength that had brought her this far. Asterisk. Asterisk. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride, and never imagined he was a millionaire. CEO, asterisk, asterisk. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. Asterisk, asterisk. The following weeks were a whirlwind for Alice. She was adjusting to the new responsibilities that came with her big project at work, while also managing her life as a single mom. Despite the challenges, she felt more driven than ever. The support from David was something she had never experienced before, and it had made a huge difference in her confidence. But as the project deadlines loomed closer, she found herself struggling to balance her personal life and the demands of her job. One evening, after another late night at the office, Alice was exhausted. She had just finished finalizing the project presentation when she glanced at her phone. There was a message from Jason's teacher. "Please call when you get a chance. We need to discuss your son." Her stomach tightened. It had been a tough week for Jason. She knew he had been struggling with his emotions lately, and she had hoped that things were getting better. But this message made her worry. She dialed the number immediately. "Hello, this is Mrs. Roberts," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I saw your message. Is everything okay with Jason?" The teacher's voice was calm but firm. "I'm afraid Jason has been having some behavioral issues at school. He's been withdrawing, and today he got into a verbal altercation with another student. I think we need to talk about his emotional well-being." Alice felt a pang in her chest. She had hoped that things would improve for Jason, but she could see now that he was still struggling to cope with everything that had happened in their lives. "I'll be there tomorrow morning," she said, her voice shaky. "Thank you for letting me know. I'll do whatever it takes to help him." After hanging up the phone, Alice sank into her chair, overwhelmed by the weight of everything. She had been so focused on the project and her new job that she had neglected to check in with Jason the way she should have. She knew he needed her now more than ever. The next morning, Alice took a few hours off work to meet with Jason's teacher. As she walked into the school, she was reminded of how much had changed in her life. Just a few months ago, she had been struggling to keep her head above water, unsure of how to make it through each day. Now, she was working a job she had always dreamed of. But in the process, she had let some of the most important things in her life slip. The teacher, Miss Patel, greeted her with a kind smile. "Thank you for coming in," she said. "I'm glad we're able to talk." They sat down together in the small conference room, and Miss Patel began explaining the situation with Jason. "He's been quiet, isolated, and it's affecting his social interactions. I think he's dealing with a lot of emotional stress, and it's starting to show in his behavior," Miss Patel said. "I think we need to address this before it gets worse." Alice's heart broke for her son. She had known that things hadn't been easy for him, but hearing it laid out in front of her made it all the more real. "I didn't realize it had gotten this bad," Alice said, her voice trembling. "I've been so caught up in work that I didn't see the signs." Miss Patel nodded sympathetically. "It happens more often than you think, but the good news is that we can work together to help him. I recommend that we set up some counseling sessions and have regular check-ins." Alice agreed. "I'll do anything. I just want him to be okay." After the meeting, Alice drove back to the office with a heavy heart. She knew she had to make some changes. She couldn't continue to push her personal life aside in favor of work. Her son needed her, and she needed to be there for him, just as she had promised. When she arrived at the office, David was already waiting for her in her office. He had a look of concern on his face when he saw the exhaustion in her eyes. "Alice, are you okay?" he asked gently. She sat down at her desk, rubbing her temples. "I'm fine," she said, though she didn't feel fine. I have a lot on my plate right now. My son's been struggling, and I need to be there for him. I'm not sure how I'm going to juggle everything." David looked at her with understanding. "I get it," he said. "Family comes first. If you need time, take it. We'll find a way to work through this together. You don't have to do everything alone." Alice was taken aback by his words. He had always been supportive, but hearing him say that made her realize just how much he truly cared. "Thank you, David," she said, her voice soft. "I'm just trying to figure out how to balance it all. It's hard sometimes." David gave her a reassuring smile. "I know it is, but you're doing great. Don't forget to take care of yourself, too." For the first time in a long time, Alice felt like she wasn't carrying the weight of the world on her shoulders alone. She had people who cared about her and her family, and for that, she was truly grateful. The road ahead was still uncertain, but with the support of David, her colleagues, and her own determination, she knew she could face whatever challenges came her way. ***. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride, and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. After the conversation with David, Alice felt a sense of relief that she hadn't experienced in weeks. He was right, she didn't have to do it all alone. For the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to breathe. But despite David's support and the reassurance that everything would be okay, Alice knew that there was still a lot of work ahead. Her son, Jason, had a lot of emotional challenges to work through, and balancing her new career with motherhood was no easy task. Over the next few days, Alice managed to keep up with the demands of both work and home, but it wasn't without its challenges. Jason's behavior at school was improving with the help of counseling, But he was still struggling with the absence of his father, and Alice could feel the weight of his unresolved feelings every time they spoke. Alice knew that she had to focus on both her career and her family, but it wasn't easy. She had learned how to succeed at work, but this was uncharted territory. She couldn't afford to let her job slip, but she also couldn't afford to let her son suffer. One evening, after another exhausting day, Alice returned home to find Jason sitting at the kitchen table, staring down at a piece of paper. When she walked in, he didn't immediately look up. "Hey, Jason," Alice said, trying to keep her voice calm. "How was your day?" He glanced up at her, but his eyes looked distant. "It was fine," he muttered, shoving the paper aside. Alice's heart sank. She could tell there was more going on, but she didn't know how to get him to open up. She pulled out a chair and sat down across from him. "You know, you can always talk to me, right?" she said gently. Jason hesitated, then shrugged. "I don't know. I just don't want you to get upset." Alice reached out and touched his hand. "Jason, nothing you say could upset me. I'm here for you, always." Slowly, Jason looked up at her. "I just don't get it. Why did Dad leave? Why did he have to go away? I miss him." Alice's chest tightened. She had been expecting this, but it still hurt to hear him say it out loud. "I know you miss him, baby," she said, her voice trembling. "And I do too. But sometimes people make choices, and those choices don't always make sense. I know it's not fair, and I wish things were different, but I'll always be here for you, okay?" Jason nodded, but the sadness in his eyes didn't fade. Alice wished she could take away the pain he was feeling, but she knew that it would take time, and there was only so much she could do. The next morning, after spending some quiet time with Jason, Alice went to work feeling a renewed sense of purpose. She had to stay strong for him, just as she had to stay strong for herself. As soon as she entered the office, she was greeted with a flurry of activity. The project she had been working on was nearing its completion, and there were meetings, presentations, and last-minute details to finalize. Alice dove right in, her mind focused on the task at hand. As the day wore on, she received a message from David asking her to stop by his office. Alice felt a surge of nervous excitement. What did he want to talk about? She walked down the hallway to his office, trying to steady her breathing. When she entered, David was standing by the window, looking out over the city. "Alice, come in," he said, turning to face her with a smile. "How's everything going?" "It's going well," Alice replied, her voice steady. "We're almost done with the project. I think it's going to turn out great." David nodded. "I have no doubt about that. You've done an amazing job so far. But there's something I wanted to discuss with you. We've been impressed with your work, and I think you're ready for more responsibility." Alice felt a surge of nerves and excitement. "What kind of responsibility?" she asked, her heart pounding in her chest. David smiled. "I want to offer you a promotion. You'll be taking on a leadership role within the team. It's a big step, but I believe you're ready for it." Alice blinked, her mind racing. A promotion? She had barely been with the company for a few months, and now she was being offered more responsibility? I don't know what to say," she said, stunned. "This is a huge opportunity, but I don't know if I'm ready." David looked at her with understanding. "I know it's a big leap, but I have faith in you. You've proven yourself time and time again. This promotion will give you the chance to grow and take on more challenging projects." Alice's heart was racing. This was what she had always wanted, a chance to truly prove herself. "Thank you," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "I won't let you down." David gave her a reassuring smile. "I know you won't." As Alice left his office, she felt a mix of excitement and apprehension. She had worked so hard to get to this point, but now the real challenge was just beginning. She had a chance to make her mark, to truly take control of her future, and she was ready. As she walked back to her desk, she knew that this was the opportunity she had been waiting for, and she wasn't going to let anything hold her back. Asterisk. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride, and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Asterisk. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. Asterisk. Alice was still processing the news about her promotion when the weight of the responsibility started to sink in. She had just been offered the opportunity of a lifetime leading a team and overseeing important projects, and though it was everything she had hoped for, she couldn't shake the fear that came with such a big change. For years, Alice had lived in survival mode, focusing only on making ends meet, doing whatever it took to ensure her son's future was secure. Now, for the first time, she had the chance to thrive. But would she be able to balance the demands of work with being a mother to Jason? As she stood in her office later that day, her thoughts were interrupted by a knock at the door. It was David, looking more serious than usual. "Alice," he began, stepping inside. "I wanted to check in with you about the promotion. I know it's a lot to take in, but I want to make sure you feel prepared." Alice nodded, her hands gripping the edge of her desk. "I appreciate the opportunity, David. I really do. But I'm also a little nervous. I've never had a role like this before." David smiled reassuringly, walking over to her desk. "That's completely normal. It's a big responsibility, but I'm confident you'll rise to the occasion. The team needs someone who can lead with vision and empathy, and I believe you have both of those qualities." Alice swallowed, trying to push down the self-doubt that had crept into her mind. "I'll do my best," she said quietly. "I just hope I'm not in over my head." David placed a hand on her shoulder. "I know you'll make it work, Alice. And remember, you're not alone. We're all here to support you." That reassurance helped, but Alice still couldn't shake the weight of the decision. As the days went by, she threw herself into her work, trying to prepare for the transition. She spent hours reviewing old projects, meeting with colleagues, and learning as much as she could about what the role would require. But no matter how much she studied, the pressure continued to mount. She still had her responsibilities as a mother, and Jason's struggles with his emotions were never far from her mind. One evening, as Alice sat at her desk reviewing some notes, she received a message from Jason's teacher again. This time, it was a text message from Miss Patel. "Alice, please call me when you can. We need to discuss Jason's progress. I think he might need more support." The message hit Alice like a ton of bricks. She had been so caught up in her work that she hadn't realized how much Jason was still struggling. She quickly dialed the number, her mind racing. "Hello, this is Alice," she said when the teacher picked up. "I saw your message. Is everything okay with Jason?" Miss Patel's voice was gentle. "I'm concerned, Alice. Jason has been doing better in some areas, but he's still having trouble expressing his feelings. He's not participating in group activities and tends to isolate himself. I think we might need to explore more ways to help him." Alice's heart sank. She had hoped that the counseling sessions would be enough, but it seemed that Jason's struggles were deeper than she realized. "Thank you for letting me know," Alice replied, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'll make sure we get him the help he needs. I don't want him to feel like he's dealing with this alone." After the call, Alice felt more overwhelmed than ever. She had always prided herself on being able to handle everything on her own. But now, with her new role at work and her son's emotional struggles, she realized she couldn't keep it all together without help. That night, as she sat on the couch with Jason, she decided to have a heart-to-heart conversation with him. "Jason," she began gently, "I know things have been tough lately. You don't have to go through this alone. I'm here for you, and I'll always be here for you." Jason, who had been staring down at his hands, finally looked up at her. "But what if you don't have time for me? What if you get too busy?" Alice felt a pang of guilt in her chest. "I promise, no matter how busy I am, you'll always come first. You're my priority, Jason. I'll make sure to be there for you, even when things get tough." Jason gave her a small, uncertain smile. "Okay, Mom," he said, still looking unsure but comforted by her words. The next day, Alice met with David to discuss her new responsibilities in more detail. As they sat in his office, he could tell that she was still feeling the pressure. "Alice, I know this is a lot to handle, but I want you to remember one thing," David said, his voice calm and reassuring. "You're not expected to do everything on your own. Lean on the team when you need to. We're all here to support you." Alice took a deep breath, feeling a weight lifted off her shoulders. "Thank you, David," she said quietly. "I'll do my best to balance everything. I'm ready for this, even if I have to ask for help along the way." David smiled. "That's exactly the right mindset. And remember, you're not alone in this." As Alice left his office, she felt more confident. The road ahead would be tough, but she now knew that she had the support of those around her. She wasn't just a struggling single mom anymore. She was a leader, a mother, and most importantly, she was not alone. Asterisk, asterisk. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Asterisk, asterisk. Hello, everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. Asterisk, asterisk. Alice walked out of David's office that day with a new sense of determination. He had offered her his support and faith. And for the first time in months, she truly felt like she was capable of handling everything life had thrown at her. It wasn't just the promotion that had made her feel this way. It was the acknowledgement that she wasn't alone anymore. She had built this career from the ground up, but now, with David's guidance, the path ahead felt clearer. But the real test was yet to come. The pressure from her new responsibilities at work, coupled with the emotional support Jason needed, created a whirlwind of tasks that demanded her attention. Alice knew she had to give her best at work and be there for her son, but the challenge was finding balance. For the first time in a long while, she felt torn. The first few days of her leadership role were a blur of meetings, deadlines, and team collaboration. Alice handled each challenge with grace, but there was a lingering worry in the back of her mind. Was she doing enough for Jason? One day, as she sat in her office, reviewing her team's progress on a new project, her phone buzzed with a message from Jason's school. It was from Miss Patel, his teacher. "Please call me as soon as you can," the message read. "It's about Jason." Alice's heart skipped a beat. She quickly dialed the school number, her thoughts racing. "Hello, this is Alice Roberts," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I got your message. Is everything okay with Jason?" Miss Patel's voice was calm but firm. "Alice, Jason's been withdrawing more than usual. He's been avoiding group activities and seems to be very quiet. I'm concerned that he's still not coping well with everything." Alice's stomach tightened. "I've been trying to help him, but maybe I'm not seeing everything. What should we do?" Miss Patel sighed softly. "I think it might be time to consider more professional counseling for him. He's struggling to express his feelings, and it's affecting his behavior. We need to address this before it gets worse." Alice felt the weight of the conversation. Her son was her priority, and hearing that he was still struggling made her feel helpless. "I understand," Alice said, her voice thick with emotion. "I'll make sure we get him the help he needs." After hanging up, Alice leaned back in her chair, feeling the exhaustion seep into her bones. She had worked so hard to get to this point in her career, but she knew that being a good mother came first. She had promised herself that no matter what, she would never neglect Jason. The next day, Alice made an appointment with a counselor, determined to help Jason in any way she could. The thought of taking time off work was overwhelming, but she knew that Jason's well-being was non-negotiable. The balance was delicate, but Alice had learned that asking for help, whether at work or at home, was a strength, not a weakness. When Alice arrived home that evening, Jason was already sitting at the kitchen table, his homework spread out in front of him. He didn't look up when she entered. She could feel the distance between them, the quiet barrier that had grown over the past few weeks. She walked over to him and gently placed her hand on his shoulder. "Hey, Jason," she said softly. "How was your day?" He didn't answer right away, and for a moment, Alice felt the familiar ache in her chest. But then, after a long pause, Jason looked up at her, his eyes filled with vulnerability. "I'm sorry, Mom," he whispered. "I didn't mean to worry you." Alice's heart broke at the sound of his voice. She pulled out a chair and sat down next to him. "Jason, you don't have to apologize," she said, her voice tender. "I know things have been tough, but I want you to know that I'm always here for you. We're going to work through this together." Jason nodded slowly, his eyes still uncertain. "I just don't know how to make it better," he muttered. Alice reached out and took his hand. "It's okay to not have all the answers right now. We'll take it one step at a time, and I'm not going anywhere. We'll figure it out, I promise." Over the next few weeks, Alice continued to juggle her work and her responsibilities as a mother. She found herself growing more confident in her role as a leader at work, but she never lost sight of the fact that her son needed her. She made sure to take time for their weekly outings, for quiet evenings together, and for conversations where she just listened to him. As Alice became more comfortable in her leadership role, she found a sense of fulfillment that had been missing for years. She was no longer just surviving, she was thriving. And though the path ahead was still uncertain, she knew that she was building something lasting both at work and at home. With every passing day, Alice was becoming the woman she had always wanted to be: strong, confident, and capable of handling whatever life threw her way. Asterisk. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride, and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Asterisk. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. Asterisk. Alice had never felt more conflicted in her life. The sense of pride from her recent promotion at work was still fresh, but the weight of being a single mother who had to juggle both her career and Jason's well-being was starting to become overwhelming. She had learned how to succeed in her career, but balancing her professional life and being there for her son was becoming more difficult by the day. As the days went on, Alice continued to put in the hours at work, striving to make her mark in her leadership role. But at the same time, she was noticing more and more how much Jason was struggling. He had become quieter at home, retreating into his own world, and Alice's attempts to reach him seemed to fall short. No matter how hard she tried to reassure him that everything would be okay, she knew that there was still a lot of emotional work to be done. She was increasingly torn between being a dedicated mother and an ambitious professional. The responsibility of leading her team, handling a major project, and ensuring the success of her new position weighed heavily on her. At the same time, she had to be there for Jason, who had his own struggles that she couldn't simply ignore. One evening, after a particularly stressful day at the office, Alice received a call from the school. It was Miss Patel, Jason's teacher. "Alice, I think it's time we had another conversation about Jason," Miss Patel said, her tone concerned. "He's still not participating in class the way he should. I think we need to address his emotional needs more seriously." Alice's heart sank. She had hoped that the counseling sessions and the extra attention she had been giving Jason were enough, but it seemed like they were just scratching the surface. "I'll be there tomorrow," Alice replied, trying to hide the panic in her voice. "We'll do whatever it takes to help him." The next morning, Alice took some time off from work to meet with Miss Patel at the school. When she arrived, Jason was sitting in the principal's office, looking down at his shoes. His body language was closed off, and he didn't look up when Alice walked in. "Jason," Alice said softly, her heart aching as she sat beside him. "How are you doing, honey?" He shrugged, his eyes still averted. "I'm fine," he muttered, not looking at her. Alice gently cupped his chin, tilting his head so that their eyes met. "You don't have to hide it from me, Jason. You can talk to me. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out together." Jason's eyes finally met hers, and she could see the confusion and sadness that had been weighing on him. "I don't know why I feel like this," he whispered. "I just don't want to be in school anymore. I don't want to be around anyone." Alice's heart broke. She knew her son had been struggling with his emotions, but hearing him say it out loud made it all too real. "It's okay to feel like this, Jason," Alice said softly, "but we need to talk to someone who can help, and I'm not going anywhere. We're going to get through this together." Miss Patel, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "Alice, I think it would be beneficial for Jason to have some one-on-one sessions with a counselor who specializes in children dealing with emotional stress. He needs a safe space to talk and process everything he's been holding in. Alice nodded, her mind already racing with thoughts of how to fit this into her already packed schedule. I agree, she said. I'll make the arrangements. Thank you for letting me know, Miss Patel. After the meeting, Alice and Jason walked to the car in silence. Once they were inside, Jason spoke up. Do you think I'll be okay, Mom? Alice's heart broke again as she reached out to hold his hand. I know you will, Jason. We're going to get you the help you need, and we're going to be okay. Over the next few days, Alice worked with Jason to schedule the counseling sessions. At the same time, she threw herself back into her work, doing her best to keep up with the growing demands of her new role. The pressure was mounting, but Alice found herself relying more and more on the support of her team and David, who had been nothing but encouraging since the moment she had joined the company. David had been checking in regularly, offering advice when needed and making sure that Alice didn't feel like she was in this alone. He had even told her that if she ever needed to take time off to focus on her son, he would understand. His support was invaluable, and Alice felt a sense of gratitude for the first time in a long time. As she made her way through the week, Alice realized that balancing everything wasn't about doing it all perfectly. It was about giving herself permission to ask for help when she needed it, whether that meant reaching out to her team at work, seeking help for Jason, or leaning on David when she felt overwhelmed. She had learned that no one could do it all alone. Alice had come a long way since that first day when she was unsure of what her future held. She had a job she loved, a team that believed in her, and most importantly, a son who needed her more than ever. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was thriving, and she was ready to face whatever came next with the strength and determination she had found in herself. A struggling single mom asked a stranger for a ride and never imagined he was a millionaire CEO. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's continue the story. Time passed, and Alice found herself settling into her new rhythm. Between her new leadership role at work, the support she had secured for Jason, and the increasing confidence she felt in her own abilities, things were finally starting to feel more manageable. She had worked hard to get to this point, but it was clear that the journey was only just beginning. Jason had made great strides. His counseling sessions were helping, and though there were still moments of frustration, Alice could see the gradual transformation in him. He was opening up more, sharing his thoughts and fears, and it gave Alice hope that they were both on the right path. As a mother, she was learning how to be there for him without sacrificing her own ambitions. She didn't have to choose between being a great mom and a successful woman. She could be both, with the right balance. At work, her team had started to trust her more, and her leadership style was becoming something her colleagues respected. David had continued to offer his guidance, but Alice was beginning to carve out her own way of doing things, confident that her decisions were sound. One day, as Alice prepared for a big presentation to a potential client, she was interrupted by a message from Jason's school. Her heart raced as she opened the message, expecting another concern, but instead, it was a note from Miss Patel. Jason has been selected for a leadership role in the school's student council. He was nominated by his peers for the position of vice president. Alice felt her heart swell with pride. This was a moment she had been waiting for, a sign that her son was finding his way and beginning to believe in himself. She immediately called him. Jason, Alice said, her voice full of excitement. I just got the message. You're going to be vice president of the student council? That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. There was a long pause on the other end of the line. Finally, Jason spoke, his voice tinged with uncertainty. I don't know, Mom. It feels like a big deal. What if I mess up? Alice smiled softly, her heart full. Jason, you've worked hard to get to this point. You've grown so much, and I know you're ready. Don't worry about messing up. Just be yourself, and I know you'll do great. Jason's voice brightened. and Alice could hear the smile in his words. "Thanks, Mom. I think I can do it." As Alice finished her call with Jason, she felt a renewed sense of purpose. She had always put so much focus on surviving, but now, her life was becoming about thriving both for herself and for Jason. She wasn't just raising a child, she was raising someone who was learning to lead, to face challenges, and to become the best version of himself. That evening, as she sat down to dinner with Jason, they talked more about his new role at school, about his dreams for the future, and how things were slowly falling into place. Alice couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of gratitude. Her hard work was paying off, and it wasn't just her own life that was changing, it was their lives, together. As Alice took a moment to reflect, she realized how far she had come. She had faced so many challenges and doubts, but with each obstacle, she had grown stronger. She had learned to trust herself, to ask for help when needed, and to lean on those who cared about her. The woman who had once been lost and uncertain was now a confident, capable leader at work, in her home and in her own heart. She was no longer just a struggling single mom. She was a woman who had found her strength, her voice, and her purpose. And as she looked at Jason, her heart swelled with pride and hope for the future. Together, they had faced the hardest of times, and together, they would continue to rise. The journey wasn't over, it was just beginning. In this heartwarming and inspirational story of Millionaire stories, a struggling single mom finds her life changing in ways she never imagined. Starting with a chance encounter with a stranger who turns out to be a millionaire CEO, she is offered an opportunity that helps her rise above her circumstances. As she navigates her new career and her personal life, Alice finds herself balancing her responsibilities as a mother while excelling in her new leadership role. With the support of those around her, including her son Jason, she begins to overcome her fears and doubts, ultimately realizing that she can be both a successful professional and a loving mother. Throughout this emotional journey, Alice learns the true value of trust, support, and perseverance in the face of adversity. This is one of those millionaire stories, that proves how a simple act of kindness can change the trajectory of someone's life. As Alice's story unfolds, her son Jason also begins to grow in confidence, taking on leadership roles at school, showing that positive change is possible for everyone. As a single mom with big dreams, Alice discovers that with the right support, determination, and belief in herself, she can achieve everything she set out to do. Her journey is not just about career success, but about growth, love, and the strength that comes from facing challenges head-on. In the end, Alice realizes that millionaire stories are not just about wealth, but about the richness of experiences, relationships, and personal growth. This millionaire story, will leave you inspired and remind you that no matter the obstacles, you can always rise to the occasion. Alice's journey is a testament to the power of self-belief and the importance of community, making it one of the most heartwarming millionaire stories you'll ever hear.